Everything else is pretending to be money, but Bitcoin is money. We take over 80% of global debt, all fiat currency, a big chunk out of real estate, big chunk out of stocks, a good chunk out of gold. Bitcoin is really good as a lens to view other investments, to understand kind of how money works.
You can look like a poor person going over a border and have millions in your head.
Bitcoin is number go up technology, and houses are number go down technology.
Bitcoin is the profit.
That's the kind of paradigm that people come at me with all the time whenever we do talk about money. If that they're like, so what's the profit? When are you going to sell? What price would it have to be for you to sell? It's just they're used to this short-term kind of where you have to sell something. Like I don't know, like when a stock has reached, like if you bought it when it's early on and then it becomes in the Fortune 500 and then all the growth is gone, now you have to sell it, and then you just buy the S&P at that point. Bitcoin, I think, is that kind of index. People don't view it as being that though, and it's so big I can't even explain it.
Yeah, it
but
like
over time you get that paradigm shift where it is like what you want to keep your profit in. It is the profit. Everything else you're selling for a profit, and Bitcoin is what that is.
yeah, Bitcoin is like the exit strategy already. Like people ask me like, "Oh, what's your exit strategy?" Because I came from a stock world. I invested a lot in stocks before, and there is like, "Oh, what's your exit strategy on the Tesla stock? When will you get out?" and stuff like that. And for Bitcoin, Bitcoin is the exit strategy. And I also had I released yesterday the podcast with Dusan, and it was an interesting one because he talked also about Bitcoin as a unit of account, and that's basically the mind shift that we are going through. And he talked about the comparison. If you have a meter, you also want to have a fixed length. You don't want the meter to be from rubber and change in length if you want to measure something. And it's like Bitcoin is that
Yeah.
measurement unit and is that kind of thing where we measure stuff in. For people that are maybe newer, like why can Bitcoin be that measurement thing? Why should like the world be in Bitcoin as the main store of value, as the main unit of account? Like what does it bring to us?
I think Bitcoin is really good as a lens to view other investments, to understand kind of how money works. I don't think today is a great representation of the idea of what it could be, or just how you could use it to determine opportunity costs on other things. Like you have the fact that, or the idea that it would last forever and everything else is losing scarcity against it. So just that you could determine your opportunity cost on something like a house where you think it'll last 100 years. I don't know. Or like a business where you think it'll last 25 years. So you have to, that's like 4% opportunity cost per year just from that.
And
Whereas you know the Bitcoin will stay. And then you know that like every 20 years, there's going to be a double. The amount of businesses in the world is going to double. The amount of homes in the world is going to go up by like 50%. So that's another, you add another few percentages, and there's your opportunity cost. So it's not super helpful to use Bitcoin's price today, the way it moves around, as that kind of baseline, like opportunity cost for other investments, but just kind of using it as a lens, like of what it could be. Like just think as if your fiat wasn't fiat and it was Bitcoin, like in a hyper Bitcoinization post society already.
yeah, that's I think it's a great way to look at it, like Bitcoin as the lens for like a future unit of account. I mean, right now I talk with people from El Salvador, and it's interesting because they sometimes only have Bitcoin. They are trying to keep dollars out, and sometimes when they need it, they just go to an ATM, get some dollars, and then they use it, but it's like they are on a Bitcoin standard and they don't check the prices. Also, I think when you are talking with Europe and American guys and like the Western world, then you're like, oh yes, I checked the price from Bitcoin, and then we talk about the pumps and the dumps and bumps on the Bitcoin price every day on Bitcoin Twitter. And it's interesting to see that uh, if you're on a Bitcoin standard and you make that mind switch to Bitcoin, it does not matter that much. Of course, the price still fluctuates, but long term, your purchasing power is going up in norm. And this short term swings is like you can manage it. You can definitely manage it. How did you actually find your way? Like you're young, 24 years old, and how did you find your way into Bitcoin, and how old were you then?
I just turned 21. So it was right after COVID. I bought it in July 2020. It was like 9,000. It was just kind of a speculation. I had just started investing, period, just started saving. I'd always worked a lot, 2 jobs. But I never like saved money or invested or anything. So I was just like kind of spraying money everywhere at that time, just working hard and buying oil futures, buying like index funds, Alibaba stock. It was right after COVID, and I thought I didn't know anything about investing, but I thought it was just a good time to get in to investments. And I saw at that time Tesla stock was going way up, and I saw Bitcoin was still below what it was in 2018, and I was like, hey, I don't know anything about this, but this is probably gonna rip since Tesla's ripping. It just seems like the same kind of thing to me. And then it did, and think so I bought it in July of 2020, and then kind of like the end of that year, it hit all time highs. It was like 30,000, and I was like, oh man, well I guess that's it. So I sold it, and as soon as I sold it, Elon Musk bought, and it went up to like 60, 70, and I was like, man, I'm an idiot,
Did you
and I
bought
thought it
the
would
top
never come
again?
back down. I'm sorry.
Did you then bought the top again?
Uh, no, I was buying like other stocks, and I think I did pretty well that year anyways without it. It was just 2021 was just such like a crazy year for just speculative stocks. Uh, and then 2022 I just got crushed, and I read the Bitcoin Standard, listened to a bunch of podcasts. I would bought like physical gold and physical silver, and I was like, okay, the system's fucked. So I mean, I actually had more precious metals than I did like Bitcoin, and then I had a buddy of mine who was into all the Cardanos and the Ethereums and stuff, and he was getting me all into it in like 2022. And I had like a physical precious metals, so I'd learned about self custody, but not with like Bitcoin yet. And I think so. 2022, Voyager collapsed. That was before like FTX, right? Voyager was my exchange, my brokerage, and I bought a ledger and I self custodied a bunch of my shit coins and my Bitcoin right before it collapsed, and that was months before FTX. So I got out just in time, and I was trying to figure out how to stake all my altcoins, and I realized how stupid it was and how it like non-secure it was to try to stake all of. I was trying to diversify in the crypto space, and I was like, wow, this is really difficult to actually be diversified and get my staking rewards for all these different things. And it just came onto Bitcoin, and then I sold all the stocks, put it in Bitcoin, sold the precious metals, put it in Bitcoin, and now I'm on a Bitcoin standard. um yeah, I've been totally all in since like the end of 2022. So that
Really?
was right when FTX collapsed is when my right at the exact same time my confidence was at the all-time high. It not yeah, it was the perfect time actually.
Yeah, it was really good. Like end of 2022, now it's like up over 100% if we measure it in US dollars. And I also think it's funny because a lot of people are like, oh, I want to diversify into more cryptos. But what is diversifying really meaning? Like for me, it's just diversifying you have to do because you want to delete internal risks. For example, you should not only invest in one company because that one company can go bad because of bad management of stuff like that. But you should also not like you can diversify with like five or 10 companies. Then it's not that all the companies will go down in 1 week or something like that with you. It's good stocks, but Bitcoin does not have those internal risks. It has not. There is no CEO. There's no management team. There's
Exactly, it's a commodity, not a security.
ex-
So with the security, you're always having to watch the earnings reports. Like, oh, are they going to grow next one? Should I hold on? Is this going to be a good long term one, or are they going to do something that was unexpected and now all the earnings are going to be going through the floor? And now you have to sell this stock because now it's overvalued because they can't make profit anymore. Yeah, I don't know,
yeah,
man.
yeah. It's very true. Since you're young, I guess you don't own a house now.
I don't own anything except for Bitcoin.
That that's very good. Do you plan to like in the future because diversifying, but not like a lot of Bitcoiners still have this thing like I want to own my house, and I think a lot of like they have traditional values. They're like I want to also own my house and not only rent. Is it something that, and I also think a lot about that because I think I want to rent. I don't get the point of buying a house because for me it's more like a business, and letting other people live in that house and getting the cash flow in, especially when we move out in a Bitcoin standard and there's like not that crazy appreciation in Bitcoin. Bitcoin will outperform the housing market. Like how do you see investing in a house when you're like 30, 40, or you want to stay in Bitcoin only?
I mean, it just doesn't make sense for, I mean, Bitcoin is number go up technology and houses are number go down technology relatively. I mean, it just does because they don't last forever. They're all propped up with mortgages, which are propped up with fractional reserve banking. Um, and then, especially right now, I mean, I look at the what it would be like to actually get a mortgage on a place, and you're paying more for the mortgage than you are for renting the place. I mean, it just doesn't make sense at all. I don't know. Maybe someday, but it wouldn't be for money.
Yeah, I also think like if you want to buy a house, it should be like an emotional value because like you want to own the thing that you live in, and not because it makes financially sense. I mean,
But
if you
that's
have
not how people view it at all. At all. It's like it's a mandatory investment for the regular normal person. It's like you have to have a home at some point or else you're just never going to have any money.
yeah, and I mean, houses were a quite good investment back in the days, but because we printed so much money and everything was a good investment except fiat currency, like you could have invested in ETFs, in gold, and in houses. I mean, you could like I think houses are a stupid investment because like most people cannot afford to buy their house really. So what they're doing is making a down payment and making the whole thing based on credits and mortgages, and then paying up those mortgages through like 30, 40 years, and they're basically like that debt slave in the fiat system where they have to work all the time to just keep up with the credit payings and everything. Like it's a weird world to be in.
Now, houses houses are commodities too, just like Bitcoin is. But what isn't a commodity is the mortgage that props up the house value. That's a security. I think commodities relative to securities are going to do very well just because of the large amount of debt. Because I don't know. I I can't even explain it very well. I think I think if you're saving in gold or if you're saving in Bitcoin, houses are going to get cheaper to you. The stock market's going to get cheaper to you because asset price inflation has benefited most where the credit can go. And that's houses, that's corporate debt and government debt, so bonds.
I also noted down from what you said, like why you, how did you find the way in Bitcoin, that you work two jobs, and like you now 24-year-old, why are you working two jobs?
I just kind of always have. I knew I wasn't going to go to school. I just had to make money, and I worked even harder when I started investing. I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually doing something. This is my plan now. I'm going to do something with my money and have it work for me. And I didn't know how I was going to invest at first. I was really ambitious. I learned a lot about business evaluations and like how to do discount cash flow models on stocks and stuff. And then I was learning about gold and read the Bitcoin standard, and now I'm all in Bitcoin. But it just, yeah, I'm just very motivated to retire early, and I got a good. I think Bitcoin's the best option
Definitely,
possible.
Bitcoin is, I think, the best retirement plan, for people out there. Do you also run like a node, and are you
Yeah,
also mining Bitcoin?
no, I'm not mining.
Yeah,
No, I've never touched that. I run a node. I hold my own keys. I've orange pilled my mom. Um,
very good.
so she also she doesn't run a node, but she has her own keys. Um, I haven't really done much about like with the interactions on the node, but yeah, that's about it. That's the extent of it. Got a few wallets, different wallets.
I was thinking,
UTXO management important. People don't talk enough about UTXO management. You shouldn't have UTXOs below a million sats, I don't think, because someday the fees are going to be that high.
yeah,
So consolidate, consolidate.
but more and more people keep talking about it. Like I think it comes up to my feed more and more, and also guests are
Good.
talking about more and more. I think it's slowly coming that people are talking about UTXO management, and getting educated on it, and getting a little bit more into what is UTXO management, why do I have to care, and stuff like that. But what is interesting for me, because you said you orange pill your mom, is she like an actual Bitcoiner, or is she just holding Bitcoin as like, oh, I have an investment, my
It's
son?
like a hedge for her, not like a not a maximalist like you or me, but got a good amount.
How was your journey in orange pilling her, or maybe other people in your family and friend group? Is it a hard thing to do?
Um, yes, yes. Some people are easier than other people, for sure. There's so my mom, I live with her, right? I pay her rent, and I at a certain point I just stopped even like having any fiat at all. So I started with Strike. I started getting direct deposits in Bitcoin. So I literally just do not have fiat. Um, and I'm paying my mom for the bills and stuff, and I just don't have fiat. I talk about Bitcoin all the time. So
So you
she started accepting it for the bills. So and then I ordered her a jade, and
That's
just
amazing.
she's
So
yeah, and
you,
then she's just started buying on her own just because she does stocks and other investments and stuff on her own anyways. So she just added Bitcoin to that list of stuff.
I love
She
it
has her own keys.
that you have your own circular economy in your family, just like founded your own circular economy in your family. That's amazing.
And I don't know if you have Cash App or you guys use Cash App over there.
I don't
Okay,
know.
it's
I don't know if it's available. Yeah.
Jack Dorsey's Cash App. square block or whatever it is. Um, Most people here in the US use Cash App, and I think it's an amazing app because it's also Lightning enabled. So if I because I don't have dollars ever, I keep like 5% of my stack on Lightning. And if I ever go out with other people and I cannot pay, I have them open up their Cash App and I'll send them Satoshis to so that's like a little orange pill.
So
Um
so where
that's
where
only with like my close friends that I have like already kind of been talking their ear off about Bitcoin. It's cuz I love them. They hate it, but it's cuz I love them.
but you live, where do you live? Like America, I guess.
Chicago.
Chicago. And like, can you live on a full complete Bitcoin standard? Is that possible?
Yes. So the way you do it is you keep what you need in on Lightning, and you can use Bit Refill or the Bitcoin Company, which is even better because it doesn't support altcoins. And you buy Visa gift cards, and you get a little bit back. You get like 1% of your Bitcoin back. It covers the Lightning fee and then some. And then you could put that on your Google Pay or your Apple Pay, and you can do tap to pay. But it takes like 5-10 minutes whenever I want to do a transaction. It's kind of a pain in the arse. So it stops me from spending, but I don't now. If I was the one paying the mortgages and stuff here or paying the rent or whatever, no, I couldn't do it. I would have to sell some Bitcoin for fiat, and then I would have to wait for that to clear. It takes like business days, multiple business days. So I would have to use a bank account for that. But I send it to my mom on the main chain. So I don't know. I'm able to get by, but I don't think it's completely possible to be without a bank account. But that
Yeah,
doesn't mean you have to keep your individual reserve currency in fiat. You could just sell for what you need, and then you could use that for your bills.
I'm super excited to announce that this podcast got the first ever sponsor. 21 Bitcoin is Bitcoin only from day one, and they teach and preach self custody. This is my go to exchange when someone asks me, oh, where can I buy my Bitcoin from? This is the easiest entry for Bitcoiners. And if you want lower fees, plus at the same time support this podcast, use code Robin and click the link in the description. Yeah, I also think so. Like when you have all your net worth in Bitcoin and just keep like maybe 1 month or 2 months of spending in a fiat wallet, uh, that's basically living on a Bitcoin standard. Like if you have 99% plus of your net worth in Bitcoin, you cannot say that you're living on a US dollar standard. You're living on a Bitcoin
Right,
standard.
right,
You're just using the money you're forced to use from the government. It's like
right.
it's still a Bitcoin standard for me. Uh,
And it's not just the government forcing you; it's also just the network effect that you don't have with Bitcoin. There is the network effect that we don't have.
when will this come
You've
though?
got the euro, and I got the dollar.
Uh, When do you think will this network effect starting to really come? Like you now made a little circular economy with your mom. El Salvador is starting to build something, but even there you cannot pay everywhere with Bitcoin. In Swiss there is Lugano where you can pay almost everything with Bitcoin. In Swiss you can even pay some taxes in some districts. Like
That's sick.
yeah, there's a lot going on in the world in Bitcoin, and it gets better and better. Like I think it's Zug, the Karten in Swiss, but you cannot pay all the taxes in Bitcoin, but some of them are actually allowing it, and it's like it gets more and more, but it's still so early, kind of. Uh, like when do you think will this point come where we are all of a sudden, oh shit, Bitcoin is coming close to being a unit of account and being our standard medium of exchange, or at least we have the option to uh, in every city there are some stores I can get my haircut with a Bitcoin. I can get some drinks with Bitcoin. Not all the stores, but like it is in El Salvador, when you get when you know your way around, you get things with Bitcoin.
I think it was the intolerable minority thing where you have to have over 4% of a population be really intolerant about a certain thing, and then the whole population accepts it. I heard about that on Robert Breedlove. Um, so he says about 4%, whatever that means, 4% of all assets, 4% of all money value, maybe, is a magical number. Also, is just how much pain people will have to have. People are dumb, man. I don't know, man. It
Yeah,
so the more the main chain gets adopted, we need to see Lightning and Liquid and all these layer twos really build out from where it's at, or the CTV or whatever is going to happen. I don't know. Um, I don't know if that happens. I hope it does. Certainly hope so. But even if that scenario doesn't happen, I'm still bullish. I'm super bullish on it.
yeah. I think even like right now we're in like the phase where we adopt Bitcoin as a store of value, and this phase will is going on for a long time and will go on for so much longer, and people will start to use it as a medium of exchange and unit of account slowly. But 4%, I also heard that magical number, but I think we are so far away from that 4%, because even if, let's say, 2-3% of the world population is now holding Bitcoin, somewhere around that, how many people are actually Bitcoiners? How many people are
Well,
actually running nodes, being Bitcoiners, having the Bitcoin in self custody?
of global net worth, maybe. So what is that? It's like a 400x from here. No, wait, we're like 0.15% right now. So 10 times would bring us to 1%. No, it's like a 40x
Yeah.
from here. In global wealth terms, not in fiat terms, in global wealth terms, which goes up faster than the dollar goes down, or whatever your fiat goes down.
Yeah, we have this. I think it's 900 trillion US dollars all over the world, where we have the all the gold in there, all the real estate, all the financial markets in there, and I always see that, and I'm like, there's no reason why Bitcoin cannot capture a significant amount of that. Of course, you cannot
Right.
capture everything, because there is some value in companies, there is some value in gold, there is some value in real estate, of course. So it will not capture everything, but a really significant amount. Do you have a number where, like, oh, I think it's 40% or 30%? Is there like you have a number in mind where, like, this is the number what I think Bitcoin can capture from everything?
I think the easiest ones are the things that have no intrinsic value, like gold or bonds. Just your bonds are worth way more than just the physical currency itself. Bonds are like 95% of fiat, and then the last 5% is bank reserves and physical currency. Whenever you do a transaction, it's already digital most of the time. You're using your card or your Apple Pay or something. So I think that's like an easy place to start. And once you start to understand that, oh, everything else is propped up by debt. So half of real estate, maybe a third of the stock market in the world. Um, so bonds, what you get historically, you get paid like 5% over the last 100 years. The average on U.S. Treasuries, U.S. government debt, you get paid about 5%, but the credit supply is expanding 10% that whole time per year. So it's like holding Bitcoin, but you lose 5% of your Bitcoin every year. That's exactly what the bond is. It's just it's a worthless thing, but the numbers it's like an optical illusion. It's a ledger where the supply is expanding, but the amount you're getting is not keeping up with it. The amount you're getting is like half of the expansion. So I don't know. I think we take over if global debt is 3 or 4 times GDP. It needs to be under GDP for it to even keep up with Bitcoin as an investment. So I think we take over like 80% of global debt, all fiat currency, a big chunk out of real estate, big chunk out of stocks, maybe a good chunk out of gold.
I think
30% of global assets, 50%.
Yeah, I think that's like it's so hard to imagine those numbers. It's like when when you think about it, and we're now so small, and Bitcoin is still so freaking early, and coming to those numbers will be just crazy. Do you think fiat can survive, or how long
Well,
could it be?
global wealth is going to last forever, but individual currencies that are securities because they have an issuer are going to die inevitably. Every single individual currency, just like every business, goes out of business over time. So maybe fiat, a different fiat will exist 1,000 years from now, but it won't be the dollar, it won't be the euro. It'll be something else if it is even needed at that point. I don't know, but I think there's a good chance there's no more fiat currency.
I have. I thought about today. I have something new on the podcast. I don't know if I continue it or not. A small fire round where there's like 3 questions. You can answer.
Sick.
You can answer them with yes or no. Also, like you can answer them with just one word. You can also uh, talk more about them if you want. And the first question for you is like, is Bitcoin just money?
Yeah.
I asked that question a lot because it changes sometimes people's life a little bit. Like it's like they have a mind shift with Bitcoin because then they start all of a sudden think about stuff critical like this the question, oh, what is the Federal Reserve doing, what's the government doing, what's all this, and it kind of starts sometimes with Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. It's just money. It's just a tool.
I think everything else is pretending to be money. Everything else is pretending to be money, but Bitcoin is money.
That's amazing line. Second question: could Satoshi stop Bitcoin?
No. Is he going to change my node? I already downloaded it. I downloaded Bitcoin Core. He can't get me to change it.
But what do you think will happen? Like, I think it's unrealistic, and I think he will not come back. But if or she, if he comes back, what do you think will happen for like the first year and like the next 5 years? Then
A bunch of noise. Not the signal. You can't trick me into changing my node unless it'd have to be like really convincing. I don't know. It would be a lot of noise. It would be hard.
the last one is interesting. It's I posted this about unit of account with Satoshis and Bitcoins, and there were like more and more comments coming up. Oh, but bits should be used, like not Satoshis. Are you on team bits or sats?
What is a bit? That's 10 sats?
It's 100 sats apparently.
Oh, okay. I
I mean,
mean, whatever. I mean, someday. I mean, that's gonna be the block subsidy someday. In like 100 years from now, 1 sat is gonna be the block subsidy. So eventually, we're gonna have to figure out how to make it even smaller, and then after that, even smaller. and it's gonna accelerate how small that we're gonna have to keep making it. It's gonna be just it doesn't matter what unit it is because it's gonna keep getting divided, and it really what matters is you own a percentage of the supply, and the supply is gonna stay the same or shrink.
Yeah, and it's I think unit bias is something that's holding Bitcoin, holding people a little bit back, and they're like, "Oh shit, I only have 0.01 Bitcoin." Like, it does not matter. It's like it's just you have the whole thing 100%, and you have a percentage of that, and then you lay units on top of that, and you could easily be also like 100 million Bitcoin or like 10 million Bitcoin. This does not change anything. Just keep stacking sats. Yeah.
For
So
our lifetimes, you shouldn't even. I don't think you should even be involved in Bitcoin if you can't have a million sats. Because if it's not a million sats, you can't self custody it. Eventually, it'll be frozen. Um, if you're that if you're not even able to afford it, I don't think you should even be in Bitcoin because it's just going to be an IOU. Maybe someday when if Lightning gets better, but if you do have less than a million sats and you pass it down enough generations, eventually it will be usable again.
and it will be a huge, even a huge amount, a million sats. I think at some point, when you think about that, uh, the whole thing, like 2.1 quadrillion sats, I think it is, when you calculate with the whole supply, and this divided, this the whole world divided by that, even a million sats will be something. That will be an crazy amount. And I mean, it's an interesting question. Like when you have not a lot of money, and you can maybe like save $1 or $2 every month. Should you get involved in Bitcoin? I still think you should like start your journey because it's better to have an IOU Bitcoin than have nothing at all. I think, and just like keep stacking, and maybe you like you improve, maybe you learn about it, maybe you have a higher skill, and then you can have like maybe like at some point like 500 to like 100, 500 to 1,000 euros or dollars in Bitcoin, and then you can take the self custody. Of course, when you have 10 euros in Bitcoin, does it really make sense to do self custody? Like probably they are unspendable, probably they yeah, it's
If that is you, if you're one of the few people that describes, you should only use exchanges that support Lightning, and you should withdraw over Lightning instead of the main chain, whatever your small amount is, and you should probably have a bunch of different wallets. You should diversify across Lightning wallets, and then you can consolidate them once you have the like cumulative amount of a million sats, and then you can withdraw that to the main chain. Don't use exchanges that don't have Lightning support. Lightning support's super important.
yeah, 100%. Um, Now we're coming to our end routine, and it's an interesting question. I almost want to. I will incorporate that question, I think, in future podcasts in the beginning. Um, the question from the previous guest for you is: what's the situation in your life where you felt Bitcoin made actually a difference, or Bitcoin was really needed in your life?
Just number go up, I guess. That's what it is. It's number go up.
Isn't it more like everything, all the other numbers go
Oh,
down?
number go down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything else is number go down technology.
It's like I'm not in it for the number go up technology. I am out of everything else because they are number go down technologies. I mean, the freedom part is also big. I think a lot of people come.
Oh,
But yeah,
someday, someday, if everybody's on Bitcoin, you you can evade taxes and they can't take it from you. You can just keep evading your taxes and you just have your words in your head. you go to prison and they never get the Bitcoin from you. They can't stop you. I mean, how do you have high taxation in a world where everybody's on Bitcoin? That's changing things someday.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. You can just take your Bitcoin over every border with just remembering some words in your head. Like, imagine how this is changing everything from like wars and fleeing countries, and where you like, because if you flee a country, usually you end up with nothing in the final destination, because they take it from you from the borders. You cannot carry it. Your bank is not working. They froze your assets, stuff like that. So you basically only have the things that you have on you. But now you can have Bitcoin in your head, and you can look like a poor person going over a border and have millions in your head. That's a crazy thing to think about.
You can evade taxes and evade a bunch of different fines that you have, and then come to the U.S. and be an illegal citizen, and you're good. You're not going to get deported here, and you got all this money.
So it's crazy to think about. Yeah, thank you for being on, and I love to chat with you.
Sick, dude. Thank you. This is awesome.